Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Onoto Magna Carta. We have a Scribo fill in the Verde Prato. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Grande in the sand. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. We have a London pen company Christopher 15 in the Jonathan Brooks Ghost Koi. We have a London pen company, and again this is another Christopher 15, but this is in the Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 1. We have a Gravitas Sentry, and this is in the Skittles. We have another Gravitas Sentry, and this is in the Raw Brass. We have a Den's Custom Pens, and this is the Fafnir. And we have a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kouseki. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So we have here the Onoto Magna Carta, and this is made out of solid silver. It is a very, very heavy pen, but it is also a very beautiful pen. If you like weighty pens, and this comes in, I think, around 70 grams, maybe 80 grams in weight. I'd have to look back on the review. I don't know exactly, but this is a very weighty pen. It's a pen that I do like a lot, though, that you can see here. It has the Magna Carta, or parts of the Magna Carta, inscribed onto the cap there, and also onto the body of the pen, and also a coat of arms there as well. Now, this does have a Onoto number 7 size, 18 karat gold nib, and this one I got with a fine nib. And I picked this up from the London Pen Show in October 2021, and I decided I really had been liking writing with fine nibs lately. I've been getting on more with a fine nib, so I decided I would try and pick this one up with a fine nib, and I tested it at the London Pen Show, and I have to say I really liked it. So I decided it was a cross between a fine nib or a medium nib. I thought I would probably go for a medium nib in the end, but when I tested that out, I liked that fine nib so much I decided, you know what, I am actually going to get a fine nib on this pen. So I have that one inked up this week. One that I had inked up last week was the Scribo fill in the Verde Prato. This is a really beautiful resin, and this is a pen made by Scribo, or Scrittura Bolognese in Italy. These are made by the ex-Homo guys, so they have a lot of knowledge in terms of how to make a pen. They also have the original prints for, or the nibs for the Omas Extra Flessibile. They call these the Flibo Flex nibs, or Extra Flessibile, but these are really nice. It's a 14 karat gold nib, and it is quite flexy. So I have that one inked up with me today, or this week as well. Another pen I have inked up last week, and I do like it. I've not written a lot with this ink that I have in the pen recently, so I wanted to continue writing with this one. This is the Leonardo, as you'll see there, Officina Italiana. It's a Momento Grande in the sand. It's number 154. It's a numbered edition, not a limited edition. And it has a steel Bock nib. It's a medium nib, but this just writes really well. I'd have to say it's a shame that Leonardo did move from Bock to Jowo nibs. However, I also have to say a lot of the Bock gold nibs that Leonardo had on their pens, I wasn't as enamored with. But this steel nib is beautiful, and it has an ebonite feed there as well. And I do find that this writes really well. And I do like Jowo steel nibs. I really don't have... So I don't think I have any Jowo gold nibs in my collection. They are all Bock gold nibs, or other gold nibs, maybe in-house gold nibs. So yeah, it's just something I haven't really tried much on a Yovo nib, to be honest. The next pen I have inked up again was a pen that I had inked up last week. Is the Visconti Homo Sapiens. It's the London Fog. It's a beautiful pen. It was my first, one of several pens that I considered to be my grail pens that I wanted, and this was the first one that I picked up. The second pen that I really lusted after, and this was back in 2016. The other pen that I really lusted after was the Opera Master Crimson Tide, and I'd have to say that if you do get a chance to pick up your grail pens, go pick them up, because that's the Crimson Tide. So I did actually manage to pick up both of those gold, those what do you call it? Grail pens, not gold pens, grail pens. I did get to pick both of these up. So I have this one inked up this week as well. Beautiful London Fog, 23 cat, palladium nib. It's got a fine nib on it, and I absolutely love how that fine nib writes. And it kind of, I went through a phase of getting, I think, probably about a dozen 1.3mm stub nibs. And I wish, and these were in the 23 cat palladium nibs, and I kind of wish I'd got more of the fine nibs now. Because obviously you can't get the 23 cat palladium nibs. Visconti are no longer making those nibs now with Bock. So that they switched back to the 18 karat gold nibs. So I kind of do regret. I do have a few fine nibs. A few are bouncy, like this one, and a few are a little bit more rigid. But I kind of wish I'd had a few more. The majority of my Visconti 23 cat palladium nibs are actually medium nibs. And again, I do like a lot of those. Again, a bit of a mix between super bouncy and a little bit more rigid. But I really do like this one. And so I have that one inked up again this week. The next one is a beautiful pen, and this is from Sean at the London Pen Company in Ontario, Canada. And this is a Jonathan Brooks material. It's happily called the Ghost Koi, and this is in a Christopher 15 model that Sean makes. So 15 refers to a 15mm thread in terms of the diameter, and this is quite a thick pen. You can post the cap, but it is quite a thick pen. So if you like thick pens, or even like thick sections, then this may be the pen for you. Sean also makes a Christopher 13 model with 13mm cap threads, also a Christopher 14 as well. And I have to say, although I really like these Christopher 15s, Sean did mention to me when he started to make the Christopher 14s that he feels that the Christopher 14, at least at that moment in time, was probably the happy medium between the 13 and the 15. And I have to say, I absolutely agree with him, because I do have some Christopher 14s now from Sean, and I do find that they just feel better in the hand. So although I do like girthy pens, and I do like this one, I have to say that in an ideal world, I'd probably go for a 14mm thread on any pen. The next pen also inked up this week is again another London Pen Company pen from Sean at London Pen Company in Ontario, Canada. And this is a Jonathan Brooks material, and this is Primary Manipulation 1. A very beautiful sort of mix of colours going on here. And this, again, is in a Christopher 15 model. So, same as this one. So, again, a bit chunky in terms of the diameter of the pen, the diameter of the section. I can still post the cap on this one as well. But you'll see here, like, you get some really nice colours. It is a beautiful pen. So, I do like writing with this a lot. So, I have this one inked up with me today as well this week. This again, I do like a Christopher 14 or a Christopher 15. It just feels about right in the size of my hand. Now, the next pen here is a pen that I picked up at the London Pen Show in March 2022. And this was from Ben at Gravitas Pens in Dublin. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Ben in person. I'm hoping to meet him maybe at the next London Pen Show if he can make it over. Ben actually gave me this pen to review, and I have to say, I am in awe. This is a really beautiful pen. I do like this rainbow finish. It's it's strange actually, because this is, I think, an aluminium sort of made pen, but this sort of coating that is on here is very silky smooth coating. Doesn't feel like metal at all or aluminium. And he has a polished sort of fire sort of blemish sort of section here. Now this one comes with a 1.1 millimeter Yovo stub nib, and I haven't really written with a 1.1 nib for a while now. I've got a couple 1.1 stub nibs. I've got them on. I got one on a Twisby, and I think I bought another stub nib at another point. Might have. I'm pretty sure it was a Yovo, and I'm pretty sure it may have been for another pen, and I'm just trying to think which pen that was for, but I think probably an Edison pen company. But I do like this. This is a really nice. It's a cartridge converter. The cap being aluminium is very, very lightweight. You can post the cap, and it posts extremely deeply, and it will actually sit on there as well. And that kind of makes it a little bit more like a pocket-sized pen if you wanted to post your cap. I would be a little bit careful though in terms of marring the finish here, in terms of posting the cap. I think it probably is wise with this finish not to post the cap, but I have to say I'm really liking that. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. And then another Gravitas pen, and this is way heavier. It looks obviously almost identical, just doesn't have the rainbow sort of torched finish to it. But this is a brass, raw brass, and brass is very heavy compared to aluminium. So again, this is a Gravitas Sentry. This again, if I unscrew the cap, I can post it, and I can post it very deeply. And that does post quite deeply there, but it does make it a very back-weighted pen. Even without the cap, it does feel a little bit back-weighted. It is a very heavy pen. So if you like heavy pens, then that's great. This has a Yovo nib on there, and I think that is a broad nib. I'll have to look back at the review. Yeah, actually be there for broad. There you go. But I do like that a lot. It really is a nice writing pen. So for me, that's another pen that I have inked up this week as well. Another pen, which is a lot smaller, is this one. It's a pen that Den actually gave me for review as well. This is a pen from Den's Custom Pens, and this is the Fafnir. And Fafnir is basically translates to dwarf. So it's a dwarf or a pocket pen. I really like the design of this, I have to say. It looks a little bit strange having this sort of nobule here with some threads on, and a little bit of an emptiness there. But the idea of this pen is you unscrew the cap, and you post the cap and screw it into the rear of the pen like so. And then that pattern or that colour matches up. Now this is a colour that, or a material that Den has actually poured himself. So that's now turned what was a pocket pen into a very long pen. Now this is an eyedropper pen. You possibly could get a cartridge converter in there, although a standard cartridge converter isn't going to fit. So you might have to look at a different, maybe a smaller Kaweco maybe converter if you wanted to go the converter route. But that would then hold a lot less ink. I think if you eyedropper this pen, It will hold around, I believe it's 2 or 3 milliliters of ink. It is quite a lot. So you would be better to, if you want a lot of ink in that pen, a lot of ink capacity, then it would be better to eyedropper that pen rather than fill it with a cartridge converter. The next pen I have inked up, the final pen, is a Classic Pens LB5. This is a Kouseki. It's a pen I've not written with for a while. It's a pen that I do like. I like the shape. I like that it's effectively a King of Pen from Sailor. It is made by Sailor for Classic Pens. It is an LB5 Kouseki. Kouseki translates to, I think, metal ore. And if I unscrew it, it has a Sailor 21 karat gold nib there. And this is a medium, which kind of translates more because it's an Asian nib, almost to like a fine nib or a medium fine. Again, it's a cartridge converter. I do like this a lot, and I have to say that I decided I'd have to ink this one back up as well. I have a couple of Classic Pens LB5s now. I have an LM1. I would like more. I do like these nibs. I like these Sailor nibs. I've got a bunch of Sailor King of Pens as well, and I like those a lot. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is the Onoto Magna Carta. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I do like how this nib writes. It's a fine nib, and I'm not normally into fine nibs, but I have to say I like this one. So this is the Onoto Magna Carta, and it is a fine, and it is an 18 karat gold nib, and then the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey, which is a very good grey ink. I do find it's a more darker grey ink, a little bit more darker than graphite, but it's a grey that I do like. The next pen is a Scribo fill in the Verde Prato. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, this is a nib that I really like writing with. So this is the Scribo fill in the Verde Prato. And it is a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Ackerman, and it's Dutch Masters, and it's Van Huyssums. It's HU actually, HUYSUMS, and it's Sapgron. But that is a really, really nice sort of meadowy, grassy coloured ink. The next pen inked up is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande in the sand. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is, again, a really beautiful writing nib. So this is the Leonardo. And it is the Momento Zero Grande in the sand. And it is a medium. It's a still Bock nib, and then the ink in here is Diamine Majestic Purple, which is a very, very nice color, purple colored ink. It's really my favorite purple ink. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see here, this is a finer nib, but it's also a very wet writing nib. So I do like this a lot. This is a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. And this is a fine, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Koupeki, which is always my go-to ink in this pen. It's just the ink that I always ink that pen up with. Well, most of the time. The other one has been, I think, Waterman Inspired Blue. I might actually put in a little bit more of a turquoisey ink at some point. Maybe Visconti turquoise, and give that a try. The next pen is the London Pen Company Christopher 15 in Ghost Koi. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is quite a nice pen. So this is the London Pen Company, and it's the Christopher 15, and it's Ghost Koi, and it is a broad, and it's a still, and this is a Bock nib, and the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Purple Rain, which is a very, very dark purple with a lot of sheen to it. The next pen is a London Pen Company Christopher 15, and this is in Primary Manipulation 1. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is, again, another great writing nib. So this is a London Pen Company Christopher 15, and it's in Primary Manipulation 1, and it is a broad steel Bock nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Meadow, which is another nice sort of meadow coloured green ink. The next pen is the Gravitas Sentry in the Skittles. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I have to say, I do like this colour of ink, and I think this really matches the pen exquisitely well, that same colour. So this is the Gravitas Sentry, and it is the Skittles, and this is a 1.1 millimeter stub nib, and it is a steel nib, and that just looks really, really nice. So the ink in here is Herban, and it is violet, and it's Pensée. But that, I think, matches the pen colour quite nicely. The next pen is the Gravitas Sentry in Raw Brass. So I think let's do a writing sample. So this, do an ink swatch first, but this is quite a nice colour. I think this colour matches the pen quite nicely. So this is the Gravitas Sentry and it's the raw brass version, and this has a broad, and again it's a steel nib. And then the ink in here is diamine, golden brown, which is a beautiful golden brown ink. And again, I think that matches that colour quite nicely. The next pen is the Dens Custom Pens Fafnir. So I think let's do an ink swatch. And this is a medium nib. Say it may even be a fine. It's a Bock nib, so Bock on the steel nibs don't normally typically put what grade of nib it is. It's a number 5 size nib as well, not a number 6 size. So this is the Dens Custom Pens, and it's the Fafnir. And it's a medium, and it's a box steel nib. And then the ink in here is Lamy Mango, which is a very, very nice mango, sort of almost apricot yellowy colour ink, but I think that does match that colour quite nicely. A little bit of orangey mango colour here. So I have that one inked up this week. And then the last pen is the Classic Pens LB5 in the Kouseki. And we'll do an ink swatch. And as I'd mentioned, that this is actually made by Sailor for Classic Pens. There was a limited edition run of 50 in each colour of pen. So this is quite a sort of restricted amount of pens that were made. So this is the Classic Pens LB5 in the Kouseki, and it is a medium, and it's a 21 karat gold nib because it is made by Sailor, the nib. And the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it's Sakushi, or horse's tail. But that is quite a nice dark brown ink. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have an Onoto Magna Carta in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Scribo Fil Verde Prato in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Ackerman Dutch Masters Van Huysum Sapgron. We have a Leonardo Momento Zero Grande in the sand in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Koupeki. We have a London Pen Company Christopher 15 in Ghost Koi in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Purple Rain. We have another London Pen Company Christopher 15 in Primary Manipulation 1 in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. We have a Gravitas Sentry Skittles in a 1.1mm steel stub nib inked up with Jeherben Violet Pensée. We have a Gravitas Sentry in the raw brass in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Golden Brown. We have a Dens Custom Pens Fafnir in a medium steel nib inked up with Lamy Mango. And then we have a Classic Pens LB5 Kouseki in a medium 21 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Sakushi. So there you have it. That's my Kony ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.